Hello and welcome to Wake Up and Smell the Mic S&P 500 review for Thursday, May 25th, 2023. It's now the 24th. We start off in the S&P 500 daily chart in DeMark looking back to end of December 2021. I will zoom into the current area now. The S&P 500 daily chart has printed the combo and sequential buy setup 2 count. And to negate that, for end of day on the 24th, there must be a close above 4191.98 for the price flip to the sell setup count 1. Price gapped down to open this morning on the 24th. So there's a gap here between the low of this bar and the high of this bar. And because it gapped down and closed under the demand line, it was qualified. So now a close above this demand line level, 4117.45 for end of day on the 24th, would cancel this qualified demand line. And price in the aftermarket hours for the S&P 500 at 5:18 p.m. on the 24th is 4140. So if that holds, then price will open up above this demand line and possibly cancel it for end of day on the 25th. And a close above this 50% disqualified momentum up level for end of day on the 25th would qualify that level. And the next resistance to the upside is the conversion line at 4156. And it looks like it's NVIDIA's turn to carry the market. They had a close of negative 1.5 points, or half a percentage. And in the aftermarket hours, NVIDIA is up 20%, so that's why there's all this green in the NASDAQ 100. Price decides to head south, then the trend factor down 1 is still pretty good support, along with the lower Stark band and the lower channel 3 low. And price came very close to printing the D wave up wave 4. We had a low today of 4103.98, and there would have needed to be a tick lower than 4098.92. So a few points, and that would have been a D wave up wave 4 print. The NASDAQ 100 NDXHILO chart had another buy signal that's legitimate. It met my criteria, 1.02 above 0, so it's within the plus or minus 5 from 0. So we have the blue 5 EMA crossing above the red 10 EMA. And the red 10 EMA is above the 21 EMA in gold, so that rainbow pattern is going on to the upside there now. And in the aftermarket hours, the QQQ had a nice bump up with that NVIDIA results there. However, now it's bumping down quite significantly. So we caught the shorts at higher than this level here at 337.38. So we'll see what happens in the morning. If it gets near there and starts to climb, then we'll jettison that short, buy to cover. And if we do jettison and buy to cover the shorts on the Qs, I can't see going long on it. I just won't do it. I'll wait for another opportunity to catch it for the downside. And the short-term KST looks like it wants to pull back on the stick and head up above 0. It's getting close to there, negative 13.79. The intermediate term KST is not doing much. It's going horizontal right underneath 0, negative 20 something. Same thing with the long-term KST, really has no indication of pulling back on the stick and hooking around to the upside. And the NASDAQ Composite NAHILO chart is still sailing to the upside. Momentum is very strong. Even though the Rock 12 has hooked around and headed down, it is still headed up, meaning the 5 blue is still way above the red 10 EMA, and the 10 and the 5 are above the 21. That's a beautiful rainbow pattern there to the upside. And the Rock 12 hooking around like that and taking a nosedive is worth monitoring to see what happens up here. And the short-term KST looks like it's going horizontal. It's above zero, above its signal line. Intermediate-term KST has crossed above its signal line and headed up. And it looks like the long-term KST wants to head up towards its signal line. And if it does that, it has to get back above zero. And here's the QQQ and QTEC relative performance ratio. The QTEC is the ETF for the NDXT, equal weight fat cap balance sheet extraordinaire megatech index. And you can see how for most of May so far that the NDXT has been outperforming the QQQ. It actually had a nice bump up today, but we'll have to see what happens tomorrow with this. We'll monitor this as the chip stocks within that equal weighted NDXT or QTEC are going to send this around back down into the different direction than it's going now. That's my guess, because that was just too strong, and the chips are all getting lifted on it. And in the bottom window is the QQQ versus QTEC relative performance ratio together. So it's this one versus the S&P 500, and you can see that the ratio has been outperforming the S&P 500 index too. The S&P 500 support and resistance levels big board chart shows the gray areas at the weekly diamond extension bottom line from the perfect uptrend channel, the top of gap zone 2, then the daily baseline, the 20 simple moving average, and the 21 EMA along with R1. And price in the aftermarket hours for the S&P 500 at 5:59 p.m. on the 24th is 41.31. And I made the conversion line 26 bars back concerning the lagging line of gray area 2 now that price has dropped a little in the aftermarket hours. So to the downside is the 50 EMA, S1, the pivot point, S2 over in the 4,000 zone, along with the lower Stark band, trend factor down 1, and the daily channel 3 low. And to the upside is the former top of the range, the weekly ongoing demand line, the daily conversion line, R2, and get through all that. The next level is this uptrend line from 06/16/2022 at 41.95. And I do not extend the demand lines or supply lines, so I took that weekly out. And that was the weekly ongoing demand line at that level. The S&P 500 daily AD line is below its 21 EMA signal line by a lot, and the NDX NASDAQ 100 daily AD line is below its 21 EMA signal line by a little. And the Rock 1 is still in its green zone at negative 0.73 and pointed up. The ATR2 is in its green low volatility zone at 41.92 and pointed down. The PPO Extreme took a bump down. It's 1.88% above zero. And the New York Traditional McClellan Breath Oscillator took a leg down quite significantly. It would take 1,511 advancers over decliners to get back to zero. And for yesterday it was 233, so that's big. Have a great day.